The French historian Professor Vincent Duclert presented the report to Rwanda's head of state at Village Rwiro. Afterwards, he expressed his pride at what he and his team had accomplished by gathering information on the facts surrounding France's role in the genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi here in Rwanda 27 years ago, stressing that the evidence cannot be disputed and that the government of his country at the time played a direct role in that tragedy because it decided to blindly support President Juvenal Habyarimana's regime, despite the fact that Rwanda's murderous leaders of the time were preparing a genocide. The professor also noted that it is a shame that there are those that are still trying to debate over what the genocide against the Tutsi should be called, despite the truth in the French government archives he and his colleagues on the commission saw with their own eyes. French documentation indicates that the evidence was in all likelihood ignored by France's leadership at the time, especially President François Mitterrand and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The documents clearly show that there was a plan for genocide, a plan to kill the Tutsi in 1990, 92 and 93. That has nothing to do with tribes turning against each other. It is therefore important to stress that French government archives clearly state that a genocide occurred and that it was perpetrated against the Tutsi. Also, the atrocities that took place have nothing to do with the RPF's offensive because they were committed in government-controlled areas. Those documents, written at the time and now in government archive storage, utterly destroy any notions of a double genocide, which is why it is important to stress that the source of this information is in itself French, reiterating the reality of the genocide against the Tutsi. Professor Duclert also noted that an important lesson had been learned back in 1994 when Rwanda was liberated.
Le président Paul Kagame a dit quelque chose d'extrêmement important que l'on oublie toujours.
President Paul Kagame said something very important that we tend to ignore. When the RPF took power and established a government on the 4th of July, it was the first time that the will and intention to stop a genocide was observed. Never in history had this been the intention of any army anywhere in the world until that time.
La lutte contre un génocide n'a jamais été une priorité militaire. Et là, avec effectivement l'action du Front Patriotique.
Stopping the genocide was the RPF's primary objective, and that was so important. No one today should be ashamed of admitting that that was a lesson Rwanda taught France and Europe.
Il faut le dire.
Rwanda's government has again noted that the Duclert Report on France's role in the 1994 genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi is a step in the right direction if the two countries are to build bilateral relations based on truth. It was a courageous decision France's president made by instructing that the report be prepared. It is therefore an important report when it comes to Rwanda-France bilateral relations because seeing eye to eye on this history is vital. There can be no disparities, and now that report shows that they did play a role in what happened. Both countries can now forge relations based on the truth that was exposed by the report of that commission. Another report is soon to be issued by Rwanda as well. Rwanda's report will soon be complete and made public. Even though it is not yet complete, we can tell you that it complements this report. They do not contradict each other because both detail what happened. There may be a few small details that may appear in one report and not the other, depending on what either side saw, but the reports most certainly complement each other. There are no contradictions. The Duclert Commission was formed back in 2018 and its report was first made public on the 28th of March this year. On Wednesday, when commemoration activities began, marking 27 years since the genocide against the Tutsi, President Paul Kagame reiterated that Rwanda has welcomed the Duclert Report.